Hi everyone, we are back in our Small Victories postcard book. On this picture here we have 3 mushrooms and a pretty flower. The sun is moving across the desk. I don't think I'll be racing it in this particular video, but I may have to close the blind. We'll see how it goes, depends how slow I am at colouring. Now I did think I would quite like to do this particular page in some pinky shades. We're going to use some of the more pale subtle shades and see how they look. There's a few that I think are probably supposed to be perhaps more skin tony type colours, but I'm going to have a go. I'm just going to try and turn them around so I can see which is that one. This one is really pale. It's called Cameo Pink. I'm just going to try and layer it up a little bit and see how dark I can make it on the tips of these little mushrooms. I'm using Tombow Irojiten pencils, by the way. These are quite a hard pencil, so lots of layering is required if you want a more intense shade. But there are some lovely pastel tones, fluorescence, a few more intense shades, quite a lot of earthy tones which I rather like, some quite unique colours as well. Now I'm quite liking this being quite pale on the top, but I'm thinking that you probably can't see it very well, but I can. It's not much help to you though, is it? But I am layering it up, as you can see that I'm layering it up, so that's a start. But I'm hoping it just looks like a little pale pink tip. I never quite know what to do with these bits on the top of mushrooms. I'm never quite sure what they're supposed to look like. I'm going to just try and darken up the edge a little bit, but I think I may have got all the layers I can out of this particular pencil. Going to thinking something slightly darker underneath. I think we'll go for the rose pink if I can find it. Is that the rose pink? Oops. No, that's the coral pink. Maybe it's this one. I've been put back in the wrong order. No, that's the orchid. I'm gonna have to put, there it is. Gosh, it's a long way out of where it should be. Here it is, rose pink. It's still not a really dark shade, but it's definitely darker than this. With my rose pink, I would like to try and make it darker on the edge and a little lighter in the middle. Hopefully you can see that that is quite a bit darker. I want to try and make these mushrooms look like they're rounded. Didn't really succeed on the top because the colour was so pale and I'd sort of overdone it really. I always struggle with that with the really pale tones, to try and get them looking a little darker in some areas can be quite difficult. I often end up adding another colour, but hopefully you can see that on this one it's a little bit more intense, as you can see. I never know also whether to put some shadow underneath this bit. Is that sort of something that's sort of on top of the mushroom, or is it just part of it? I really have no idea. Okay, now for the stem, I'm thinking a really pale, what have we got? We've got Cameo. Maybe the coral pink will work. I'm going to sharpen it because obviously we've got quite a fine line here to fill in. But I'm thinking it might be nice to have a pink stem. I don't think I've ever done a mushroom with a pink stem. But here is our coral pink. Let's see how it looks. You may not even be able to see it. It's so fine. Looks quite similar actually to the, I'm actually going to use a little bit here to try to just make that look slightly darker on the edges. I think I've used all the tooth, not really showing up very well. Maybe it's there a tad. I'm looking in the camera, it's so pale. Right, for our actual flowers here, I'm going to use a slightly darker pink. I'm going to use the Orchid Pink. This is a bit more intense, and it will just look a little bit different. I do love these pretty pinks though. There we go, Orchid Pink. I think they're supposed to be possibly for sort of skin tones, particularly this one, but they look pretty on the mushroom, I think. I'm just blocking this in, it's so teeny. I don't think there's much more you can do with such tiny little petals. It's really nice to be able to try and make them a bit darker in the centre, but unless I use a darker colour, and then I'll risk messing it up because you've got to get it exactly in the right place. I think I'm just going to use this one colour. It does look darker than the mushrooms. We get a nice sort of pinky feel. And I'm sort of thinking here as well. Now for our greens, I need to keep them reasonably pale because we don't want them to stand out from everything else. We do have quite a nice selection of pale greens, but I'm having a look. I think I will start with the asparagus. Okay, I want slightly minty, bluey greens, and I think this will work. I'm going to do it for these two leaves here. Now, as I apply it, you can see how pale it is. I'm going to build up the layers a little bit. It's actually quite yellow. It's not the colour I thought it was at all. Okay, now where am I going to go? Quartz green, I think. Is that the right one? Yeah. It's very difficult seeing silver on white. Just going to sharpen. When the sun's sort of semi-shining in. I'm going to do the grass with this one. I've just realised there's two more leaves down there which I need to do. This one's a little bit darker. I'm going to try not to put too much down. I'm going to go back to my asparagus. Whoops. And do those leaves here. Yes, it's difficult. Try not to put too many layers down of the more intense one because I don't want it to just overtake the whole picture. There we go. Now, what should we use next? Let's having a little look. I think the opal green might be quite good. It does sound like it will be quite dark, but it actually isn't. Look at the end, opal green. Again, I need to sharpen. I think I use this for these big leaves. I'm just going to put a layer down and just see how it sits. How dark is it? How light is it? Pretty light. I think what I want to do is to make this edge here where they're overlapping a little bit darker. Maybe up from the bottom there. Like that. And then on this side I shall make this edge darker so it sort of matches, and the bottom. Just sort of fade it across. It is quite a subtle green, but I hope that that still shows up. Maybe a little bit. Try and layer up just a tad more. I'm not sure whether it can take many more layers because the cardboard for these postcards, it's not like a colouring book. You know, it's a slightly different feel to it. And then we have this one here. Could use the mint green, couldn't we? Where's our mint green? I just stabbed the wall with my finger. It's fine, I didn't hurt myself, just made a noise. Where's that? That's a bit dark. Where is that mint green supposed to be? Am I looking for the wrong thing? That's mist green. have a mint green there next to the blue. Perhaps it's this. Yeah, there it is. Mint green. Use that. I might not need to sharpen it. Let's see. Now ideally I'd like these to be a little bit darker in the base than the tip, but I want to put down enough colour so you can see that it's a different colour to that, which is proving to be quite hard. I think once we get a few more down it might look more blue. So layer it up down here and less up there. Now don't be tempted to push. This is the problem with pale pencils, is it can be very tempting to push down really hard to get more colour out, and then you can end up ruining your paper. And if you're using a printout or a download on some copy paper, or you're using a book with particularly thin paper, it can be tricky. I'm going to sharpen this because I find sharpening really helps with the intensity, because the sharp point can get into the tooth of the paper a little bit better than a blunt pencil can. So if you want a less intense colour, use a blunter pencil. More intense colour, sharpen up. And just gently layer it. I find it really relaxing, just layer and layer really nicely. And just going back over them all a little bit. There we are. Now that is quite subtle, but I rather like it. Yeah, it's how I wanted it really, so that's good. So it's still, although it's quite pale, I don't think it looks too bad compared to this one. Sometimes when I use a Tombow set, the pale colours are so pale they look odd, but I think because the pinks are still reasonably intense, it doesn't look too bad. So I think it's okay. So there is that one done. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the next one. It's really cute, actually, little house. We'll see. But for today, thank you so much for watching. Please pop back for the next one. If you've missed any of the previous 3, they are there ready for you to go and have a look at. What else is there to say? Please like, subscribe, comment, all those things. It all makes such a difference. Some of you do, you're brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you to those of you that are going to do it for me today. Have a super time. Try and find time, do a little bit of colouring if you can. And yeah, thank you very much and happy colouring.